Then now currently work at Witmer Public Safety Group. We sell public safety equipment, so fire, EMS, police department gear. Our kind of motto is we sell everything but the truck, right? So you're not going to buy the fire truck from us, but you will probably be able to find anything you need for your fire truck from us. So we're well respected in the industry as a company that hires a lot of police and EMS and fire department employees or workers. So we have a lot of subject matter expertise in our business. We had a really, really terrible implementation of SuiteCommerce Advanced. And, some of that probably was on the fault of the internal team, right? It's always like that. With any big enterprise software, if there's a failure, it's never just the consultant, right? It's always the company as well. And if you don't recognize that, you're going to run into that same failure over and over and over, right? We had a terrible SEA implementation. The original developers had not extended the API framework, which Anchor Group is the one that told us that. They had modified the internal code for SuiteCommerce Advanced, and that created a very unmaintainable platform.
Do you remember the first time we spoke during the sales cycle, probably a couple of years ago? What was your first impression? Because it was me on that call.
Yeah.
Was I salesy? Did you feel like I was being honest? What was your impression?
In fact, as I remember talking to one of my co-workers, I won't give names here. I don't call anybody out, but I was saying, when I talk to them, I'm not talking to a salesperson. I'm talking to an IT person. And you could listen. And I think that's a little bit of the difference between myself and some other directors. And I don't mean to call out my colleagues, but a lot of IT directors come from college right through the management pipeline, right into kind of that pipeline, right? I started in tech support. And I worked from tech support to implementations to QA to development to networking to operations to I went through almost every level of IT up, right? So I can smell when it's just a sales job, right? And it wasn't a sale. There just wasn't a sales job, right? It's more like talking to someone who was like, "Hey, I'm an IT guy. How can I fix your problem? How can I help you?" I felt like even if I didn't hire you guys, you were going to help me as much as you could in the hour you had with me, right? To understand, you give me some advice. I think you guys looked over my stuff. I got you a login and you checked it out and kind of did an analysis. I don't even think you charged me for that, just, kind of a first burst, right? Of checking out what we had. I don't want to sell something to you.
Well, I recall it being a very technical environment where I like to be set up for success. So I recall trying to set as clear of expectations as possible, but also to vet it out to make sure that I could deliver on what you're asking, because
you didn't want to write a check that you couldn't cash. Yeah, and so that's where I think Anchor Group originally helped us out a lot with that, right? They right-sized this and stabilized this.
I know that you used to use SuiteCommerce Advanced, and we're able to help support you on SuiteCommerce Advanced. And there's probably some challenges really unique to you because of some of your heavier technical debt and some of you have some unique nuances too. And I know we were trying to fix SEA, and we ultimately presented you with a couple of paths of how to resolve it on SEA or present a different option. And, ultimately that meant, we didn't have additional work, which is okay. What was it like receiving that information?
You guys consulted your way out of a lot of money. Just say it. I'll say it like it is. You consulted yourself out of some money, right? And I don't think a lot of consultants would have done that. The truth is, the hard-hitting truth was we really needed to re-implement SEA from scratch to get it right. And that was the truth, right? And when we looked at re-implementing SEA with all of its limitations for a company of our size, And I won't say SCA is a terrible product for, I can think SCA, in my mind, I can think SCA for almost every company I've worked at before here would have been a great solution.
It's very good for B2B only.
Yes. But with that being said, when we looked at the budget of what it would take to re-implement SCA correctly, with its limitations for a company our size and complexity, or implementing, and we did go to BigCommerce, I believe that we did make the right choice in just re-implementing over to BigCommerce. I think that the choice we made that was a mistake, and it was a choice that was not the choice that I made in isolation. I won't say that it was forced on me. I probably could have fought against it a little harder, but we went with a different partner, and I will not give their name, but they were your traditional partner that I hate, right? They were the kind of partner that they sold a lot of abilities that they didn't have. For example, they said, "Yeah, we've done NetSuite implementations. We've done da 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 da." Right? Well, yeah, they had done NetSuite implementations to a web platform that was not BigCommerce. Right? They failed to mention that, so they didn't have the integration knowledge between NetSuite and BigCommerce that we really needed. Right? Even though they sold it to us as that, what we were sold and what was actually delivered was completely different. If I had to do it again, I would have fought the good fight and just stuck with Anchor. Because the truth is, if you're doing an implementation to an e-commerce site, your ERP is more important than the e-commerce site. The integration was going to be the hard part. And I knew that going in, by the way. Even though I knew that going in, I still didn't put enough resources into that. The crux of the matter is always going to be the integration, right? And those people are not, that's where your unobtainium is. So when you're doing integrations, your ERP is where the magic sauce is. Always. Always.
The ERP drives the user experience on the website.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is your database of record. It is the truth, right? Your ERP is the truth. It's everything.
David, thanks for like taking the time today. In general, would you recommend Anchor Group for NetSuite and SuiteCommerce support?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had quick conversations with you that has saved me tremendous amounts of money. It's been worth the ticket of admission. So yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
One of the best consulting groups that I've worked with.